Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing well. It's been a couple of weeks since you last saw me and all I've basically been doing is working. Obviously last week was the Easter bank holiday. That was a nice long holiday, nice long weekend, should I say. And yeah, I've just been working, chilling out, just relaxing as much as possible, but doing lots and lots of work. So yeah, you haven't seen me in a couple of weeks because of that. I'm also bringing this to you much later in the day than I usually would, simply because I finished reading the book I'm here to review about 15 minutes before I had to walk out the door to go to mum and dad's for Sunday lunch for our usual weekly get together. So I'm coming to you not the end of the day, but late in the afternoon. I'm recording this and get it uploaded straight away. I was looking a little red because I've been in the garden. I've probably got myself a little sunburn, but oh well. It's life, isn't it? So I've not seen you in a couple of weeks, but all I've basically been doing is lots and lots of work and chilling out as much as I possibly can. But I've also been reading the book I'm here to review, which is The Armour of Light by Ken Follett. Now, this is the latest in the Kingsbridge series of books. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, the Kingsbridge series is a series of books that he has written since, I think, the 1980s. I can't remember the exact year off the top of my head when he first published The Pillars of the Earth. And there have been 5 books, sorry, I'm getting my numbers muddled up. So we had the prequel, which was The Evening and the Morning, then we had The Pillars of the Earth, World Without End, Column of Fire, and now The Armour of Light. So this is the 5th book in the series. They weren't published in that order, just so you know. There was Pillars, World Without End, Column of Fire, then he went back and did the prequel, and then he's gone and done this one. So the order that I did just before was if he did it in actual historical order. So the Kingsbridge series of books, each one is set in its own distinct time frame. There's hundreds of years apart between each book, so therefore characters don't pop up in each other's books. But saying that, we do have references to previous generations and such, and that who we have met either because we are told that they are related to previous characters, or there's like little references like a redhead character, like, oh, they're related to Jack because Jack is the redhead person from Pillars of the Earth, or like I think it's Column of Fire, the Prior Philip's grave is mentioned, so there's who is in Pillars of the Earth. So you have all of these little references dotted about throughout the books to previous generations, but each are in their own distinct time frame. So the prequel covers Viking era when Kingsbridge was established. Pillars of the Earth is at the 1100s when the cathedral is made. World Without End is around the 12 to 1300s when the tower gets established. Column of Fire is around the 1500s, and then the Armour of Light is the late 1700s. So we have a real range of times and such of what happens. So the Kingsbridge series, also, just to be aware, obviously is a completely fictional place, but it's meant to be located, I think, around Glastonbury, which is not too far from me. And so, I find that really funny that I live near where this fictional place is meant to exist. And so it follows the people of Kingsbridge in each of the different books, following their various lives and how their lives are impacted by historical events. So Ken Follett is an author who I have read the Kingsbridge series. I've read one of his standalones, and then I've read his centenary trilogy last year. So I've read a range of Ken Follett books, and I have to say Pillars of the Earth has always been my favourite book of his. Absolute favourite book of his. Not just in Kingsbridge, I mean across the books of his that I've read. Fall of Giants, which I read last year, as mentioned, is close to Pillars, but it's not topped Pillars. Pillars is exceptional to me. And then this came along, and this has just like blown the order of books of his that I favour completely apart. This book, I honestly got to feel, is up there with Pillars. If it doesn't top it, it is level with Pillars. I loved this book so much for a variety of reasons. But let's get into that. So, as mentioned, we follow the people of Kingsbridge. So we have a variety of people from a variety of levels of class and such system throughout Kingsbridge, and it follows also events leading up and after the Battle of Waterloo. So we have a variety of things that happen, which we have evidence of happening throughout history that Ken writes about. Ken is brilliant when it comes to his research. He does meticulous amount of research, and he has written, especially if you read like the introduction and the endings of the Centenary series, he is very much in the belief that he will, if it didn't happen in history, he's not writing it. Sometimes he bends the rules on this. So like, say for example, in the Centenary series, there is a sequence where a character meets a very well-known person in history. I'm not going to say who because of spoilers, but he said, okay, I'm going to be honest, I did bend the rules here. That person from history was in that area, but they didn't stop there for this particular speech. They actually went like an hour down the road and stopped there. But because my character was here at this point, I decided to make it that they stopped there instead. So it's still something that happened. He just bent it slightly so that it would be located where his fictional character was at that time. So, you know, things like that. It's still something that happened in history, but he is just adjusting things slightly to fit in with where his locations as such are located for his story. But mainly, if it didn't happen, he's not writing about it. And as soon as this book began, where we're talking about industrial machinery coming in to help the workers with their jobs, I was like, oh, 1792, we're going to get the Luddites of 1811, aren't we? And I find the Luddites in 1811 a really, really interesting event that happened in history. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, here in England, up in York, where I'm from, originally, there was a band of men who got very, very angry the fact that their jobs were being taken away by machines to do their work, and they were like, this is ridiculous, we can't have machines take over our jobs. So they basically broke into the locations of their work, of their former work, because they had lost their jobs, and destroyed the various machines. And because of that, they became known as the Luddites. They were found, they were captured, and they were hanged for their crimes. And it's a really interesting part of our history, and various acts and laws that came into place because of that happening. I just find it as a really interesting stage in history. And I was like, are we going to get the Luddites? And we got the Luddites. And I was like, yes, I was so happy that Ken covered that part of history. He also covered other parts of history to do with people, the insane laws that were in place, and how people could just be accused of things that they had absolutely no involvement whatsoever, and then be given like hard labor in prison for it, or sent to Australia. There's a character who I could not believe she got sent to Australia and she never got to see her family ever again. And I'm like, but this stuff happened. But what I love most about this book, it's the women. It is the women. Ken has always been exquisite when writing women in his books, always. And I have adored, in Pillars of the Earth, there is a character called Ellen. If you know, you know. And what she has gone through in her life, what she goes through in that book, insane and exquisitely written. And then Ken writes this book, which, as I said, it's up there with Pillars of the Earth for being I think one of the best books I have read of his entire collection that I have read, just to clarify, because he's got so many books. It is up there with Pillars of the Earth for his best book. He presents a character called Sal. I didn't know what to expect from Sal. Sal had me crying my fucking eyes out. She was extraordinary. I have loved the strength of his women. The strength of Ellen in Pillars of the Earth, I didn't think could be matched. And then he writes Sal, and I can't talk about her too much because, one, I'm going to get choked up, and two, because of spoilers. But my fucking God, how much could he throw at that woman? Ken put Sal through the ringer, and my God, that woman, I would have crumbled. I would have crumbled under the amount of stuff that she had to go through, what she had to endure. Her and her son Kit, but especially her. And at the end of the Battle of Waterloo, I was a fucking mess for what she had to do. She represents the strength of women in a period of time where we look back at that period and we see women as in wigs and pretty silk gowns with cinched inch waists and massive wide hips, because they had this massive belief that that was a really great thing to have, and all of these exquisite posh upper class things. And it's like, no, she's the working woman. She's the woman who has seen shit. She stands up for the rights of working people, and she is incredible. I think she's one of my favourite female characters at the moment. My gut is saying that I've ever read. She is that strong. She is that brilliant. And I thought, like, halfway through this book, she wasn't going to make it. And my God, what a life she built. And the final fucking chapter, I was like, yes, yes. It took until she was in her 50s, but my God, Sal, you deserve all that and everything in the world. And I love the fact that near the end, she just wanted to open a shop. And it was assumed, oh, you're going to open a nice lace shop for silks and all that lot, for all the posh women of Kingsbridge who are going to come here now, who are flocking here to buy things. And she goes, fuck that. I'm going to open a shop in my house so the poor of Kingsbridge know where they can go for help and anything that they actually need. And I'm going to ask them what they want. I'm not going to sell frivolous shit. And I was like, chef's kiss. She's incredible. She is incredible. The things that she did in this book, I marvel at. She is an incredible female character. I love her so much. So much. And other female characters as well that I found incredibly interesting, of like, what would you do for your child? What would you do in order to get the position that you want to be in? What would you sacrifice? What would you lower yourself to do? You know, it was so interesting. I just love that he writes women as women. They are just as complex as his male characters, and he really respects his female characters. You can feel that in his reading. in his writing. Sorry, reading. You can feel it as you're reading his writing. That's kind of the sentence I was developing in my brain, and I picked the wrong word to say just then. Yeah, Ken has always been extremely visceral. Always has. Fall of the Giants, especially. I that's why I was so immersed in that from the very first sentence of that book. That's why it was my favourite book that I read last year, I believe. Or was it the second? I can't remember. Oh, well, either way, it was up there. But yeah, the Battle of Waterloo chapter, I was a mess. I was bawling my eyes out. I just could not process what I was reading. And the fact that because life is so fragile and Waterloo was so bloody and hard, you feel every blow, you feel every stab, every shot. And the fact that he had multiple characters just wiped out without warning, that hurt so much. I mean, I have cried at Kingsbridge books before, but not like this. I was a mess during the course of this book. I honest to God feel it is like his best, or it's up there with Pillars as the best Kingsbridge books. I can't wrap my head around how brilliant this book is. I loved all the characters, even our evil, our bad guys. The particular ending of one bad guy, I was like, yeah, I get why you did that. And it brought to mind, if you know what I'm talking about, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame, where you never can run from nor hide what you've done from the eyes of Notre Dame, is the particular line that popped into my head when it happened. And yeah, because the cathedral is a character in itself. He is so rooted in reality in all of his books that you feel everything, and I felt everything through the course of this book. It was so exquisitely put together. I gasped and yelled, "Oh, fuck off," and multiple times, which sounds bad, but for me, like, because I swear a lot, and if I'm yelling, "Oh, fuck off," like in shock at a book, that means you got me, and I was saying that multiple times. I was bawling my eyes out. I went through the ringer with this book and these characters, and I cannot wait to get to the audiobook of this, because I need to be in this story again. It was perfect. I don't know how else to describe it. It was utterly perfect. All of the characters, or the visualization, the very things that happen to characters throughout this are extraordinary. Can I throw a call out, I have to say, to Tommy and his mum. If you know, you know, and I'm not going to spoil it, but fucking hell, that hurt. That really hurt. The fact that Ken, if you're watching it like on a film, for example, he didn't cut away. He didn't try to lighten the situation for either of them. He just went, "This is reality. This is it." And that stung so much. That was tough. That was really, really tough to read, what happened to Tommy and Jen. It really was. I don't think this story is going to be leaving me for quite some time. And that shows how impactful it was. I am so happy that I've read this book now, I'm desperate for the next one. But even then, when the next one comes along, I have to wait an additional year in order to get the paperback. So I'm just like, oh, I'm damned if I do, damned if I do. So yeah, it's the way I am. I have to have the paperback of them. But this book truly is a stunning representation of Georgian England and Brussels and France, because there is, for a time, we were in Brussels and France as well, of real people of that time. It's not all bulls and posh rich people who are wearing silks and wigs and doing whatever the fuck they want. There were real people who had to work in the dirt and the muck in order to make sure that the world kept going. And the sacrifices that they made in order to allow us to have what we have is unbelievable. And we shouldn't ignore that. We shouldn't forget that. And Ken has presented this story absolutely beautifully to us. And yes, they're fictional people, but as Ken said, you know, he writes what happened to real people. And if it didn't happen, then he's not going to write about it. And that's, I really love and respect about Ken. And what in this one makes his worlds of all of his books all the more powerful, that we know these things happened and he doesn't want them to be forgotten, so he writes about them. I love that. I absolutely love that. And oh my God, it killed me. It took me to places I never knew I was going to go. I went through the ringer with my emotions and I loved every single minute of it. Every single minute of it. And yeah, I can't wait to go back. I can't wait. He truly is a master of his work. And I don't know what else to say. I want to stand and applaud him. I want to cry right now because I love this so much. I'm not going to forget this for a while. I'm not, and I'm getting teary-eyed, so I think I need to stop this. So, let's ask my usual questions. Would I read this book again? Yes, in less than a heartbeat. I need to go back. I need to go back to the Armour of Light. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, absolutely. Read this book, please. I loved it. And as I said, because each of the Kingsbridge books are set hundreds of years apart, you can read each of them standalone. You don't have to read all the way through. But if you want to know the full history of Kingsbridge, you can start with, well, either the prequel or start with Pillars and then go to the prequel. It's up to you. But yeah. You don't have to read all of the Kingsbridge books to appreciate the Kingsbridge series. Would I read any more of Ken's work? Well, fuck yeah. I love Ken's books. I need to get more his standalone ones. As I said, I've only read one of his standalones, and the Centenary series and the whole of the Kingsbridge series, but I need to get some more of his standalones to be able to really appreciate his works. But my God, he is extraordinary. Please read Ken Follett's books if you haven't, because they are exquisite. So those are my thoughts on The Armour of Light. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave comments below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, entirely to you side. And I'll be back with my next video where I'll be announcing my next 5 reads. So yeah, I hope you enjoy then. All right then, everyone. Bye.